5 worst NBA players ever in NBA history. There have been some ridiculous busts in the NBA throughout the years. We've seen number 1 picks become complete busts, and other players get famed for being literal garbage on the floor. Some of these busts have championship rings, while your favorite NBA player doesn't have one. It's weird how sports work, but the worst NBA players to ever play on the court have reached some ridiculous milestones. Here are the 5 worst NBA players ever in NBA history. Keep watching to see which players made this list, and the achievements that they made in the NBA that they shouldn't have. Gent. Chris Gent averaged 6.2 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, and 1.3 assists per game. Those stats don't look like the worst of all time. However, he only played 6 regular season games in 2 full seasons of being on a roster. Gent played 3 games with the Houston Rockets and 3 more games with the New York Knicks. The funny thing about Gent is that he played in 11 postseason games with the Rockets and won an NBA title with the Rockets in 1994 as a bench warmer. Although Gent had a short and disappointing NBA career, he has since found success in coaching in the NBA. He joined the Philadelphia 76ers in 2003 as an assistant coach. He then joined the Orlando Magic the following season and had the chance to be the interim head coach for the final 18 games of the 04-05 season, where he went 5-13. However, due to his inexperience in coaching at the time, Gent was relieved from his duties. Although the Magic had plenty of injuries that hurt their chances to win games, Gent explained that the Magic were looking for something different than what he brought to the table. "They told me they're pursuing a veteran coach," Gent said. He continued, "I'm disappointed I didn't get the job," Gent said. "It was a learning experience. It has to be a plus for me. I mean, to be given the opportunity to be a head coach, even for 18 games, was great. If you would have told me before the season started that I would have finished as the head coach, I wouldn't have believed it." When asked where he was going to go next, Gent replied, "I'm not great at working a room. I'll put some feelers out. I played professionally for 10 years, but it's not like I know everybody. If it was a parallel move, I'd rather stay in Orlando. My family is happy here," he said. Gent would have loved to stay in Orlando, but things didn't work out like that. He is currently an assistant coach with the Atlanta Hawks since 2017, after Mike Budenholzer added him to the staff. He is also head coach in the G League for the Bakersfield Jam in 2015-2016. Head coach Mike Budenholzer announced the signing and raved about his player development skills. "Chris is a great fit with our coaching staff. Player development is at the core of our basketball program, and he has a track record of improving players' skill level and understanding the game at every level," Budenholzer said. "His experiences as a coach and a former player will add to our group." Gent had spent 10 seasons playing professionally, with 5 seasons in the CBA, while also spending time playing overseas in Australia, Italy, Spain, and Greece. Although his former NBA career didn't go as planned, Gent, who attended Ohio State, had plenty of exciting moments. He played all 4 seasons with Ohio State from 1988 to 1992, and helped lead the Buckeyes to 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments and back-to-back Big Ten championships. Cherokee Parks. Cherokee Parks was a Duke alum that didn't translate into the NBA. Parks was drafted by the Mavericks in 1995, but played for 7 different teams in his 10-year career. In 1995-1996, he played for the Mavericks, but from 1996 to 1998, he was on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then he went to the Vancouver Grizzlies for 2 seasons, before moving on to the Washington Wizards in 2000. He then left Washington mid-season and played for the Los Angeles Clippers. After that season, the Clippers had seen enough, and he went to the San Antonio Spurs. Then the Clippers added him back to the team for 1 more year, but he eventually moved on to the Golden State Warriors in 2003, where his career ended. After that season, Parks disappeared from the NBA world. Parks was seen playing overseas, but by 2011, he was hanging it up. He wanted to open a punk rock music bar. When asked about how he felt about his NBA career, he said that he was unsatisfied. "My head was never in the right place. I was depressed a lot," he said, but that's a whole nother story. It was one he was initially reluctant to tell. "I want this to be a momentum piece," he said. "I get to come back and do this journey again," he said. "I get a second chance." His first chance had a lot of potential. Juwan Howard, who was in the same high school class as Parks, had plenty of fantastic things to say about Parks. He was a super talented big man who could post up with his back to the basket and shoot the ball from the outside, said Juwan Howard. He was also really smart. That's why he was the 12th pick in the NBA draft, coming from a well-known basketball university like Duke. He had the skills and had what it took to be a great NBA player. The problem was that he entered the NBA during the heated labor strife. If you recall, the 1995 draft had taken place during a lockout, which lasted from June until September. Rookies like Parks missed their first 3 months as a professional basketball player. Instead of training with their team, they spent their time alone, without the guidance of or instruction from an NBA organization. Parks just needed structure, and never got it. He never spent more than 2 seasons on a single team, and that more than likely hurt his chances to get comfortable and be himself. Still, Parks wasn't ready to give up on a second career within the game. "I realized I love basketball, that I really like the opportunities it provides provided and the people it introduced me to, Parks said. He wanted to leave the game on a good note this time. I didn't the first time around, but I wanted to have a positive impact. Parks now works in the NBA league office as a project officer. Parks had plenty of problems when he was in the NBA. He understands how some will look at him as an NBA player, but he's ready to turn the page and move on from his NBA career and into his new role in the NBA. A lot of that stuff was not something I'm proud of, Parks said. I'm going to make good decisions and bad decisions, but it's memories of those decisions that I'll always have to live with. Memories that I have to have. Keith Kloss. Keith Kloss averaged 3.9 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 0.3 assists per game after playing for the Los Angeles Clippers from 1997 to 2000. Kloss was a 7'3" giant. He was a fantastic shot blocker, but didn't put much effort into becoming great. Kloss had plenty of issues off the court. He had an alcohol problem and had 3 DUIs throughout his NBA career. To this day, Kloss still holds the NCAA Division I record for block shots per game at 5.87 blocks per game. But things were really bad off the court. Kloss started the viral video trend after an amateur video caught Kloss getting his rear end handed to him after he mouthed off outside of a nightclub back in 2000. The clip was quickly posted on various message boards around the online NBA community. Kloss was going through a lot at the time. Years later, he finally talked about that infamous night, where his entire NBA career was marked with an asterisk due to his alcoholism. He has since been clean for quite some time now, and spoke with SI.com's John Wertheim. People thought of me as uncoachable with a bad attitude, he said. That was the drinking. During the 1998-99 lockout, Kloss picked up 2 DUIs. He called the NBA headquarters for help on how to get out of the situation, not for actual rehab. The league sent him a rehab clinic in Georgia, but that didn't do much. I heard these war stories from everyday people, but I couldn't relate, he said. I hadn't lost my job or my family. I'm thinking, hell, I'm not like these people. They're the ones with the problem. I'm young, have money. Once the lockout is over, I'm back in the NBA. You're calling me an alcoholic? That's like you're cursing my mother. The viral video was caught when he was drinking, because he was drunk. That got him in trouble that night in 2000 in the club parking lot. That video shows him getting beat, and it looks vicious. Kloss actually said that he wasn't hurt at all after the fight, and played the next day. And he actually played well in that game against Portland. Just like everyone in this list, Kloss had talent. Add talent with his ridiculous wingspan, and he could have really made a difference in the league. Brian Scalabrini. Brian Scalabrini averaged 3.1 points, 2 rebounds, and 0.8 assists per game during his NBA career. He earned the nickname White Mamba for being terrible at basketball, basically. Brian was drafted by the New Jersey Nets in the second round of the 2001 NBA draft. The White Mamba signed a 5-year, $15 million deal with the Boston Celtics, and eventually won an NBA title in 2008, while sitting on the bench with the Celtics. For the 2011-2012 season, the White Mamba moved on to play for the Chicago Bulls, but quickly realized his NBA career would have to come to an end. He never really had an NBA body that was athletic enough to compete in the league. He quickly found a coaching job with the Golden State Warriors in 2013 that started his career after playing in the NBA. Since coaching, he is now a basketball analyst for CSNNE for all Celtics games. The White Mamba played 11 seasons in the NBA, but because of his lanky build, he became a fan favorite for all the wrong reasons. He recently spoke about when he first realized fans were clamoring for him. It started kind of early, when I was on the New Jersey Nets. It started like, get Scalabrini in at the end of the game, but then I became a rotational player, so it kind of disappeared. You don't cheer for a guy to get in the game when he's played 23 minutes. Kind of disappeared, and then I went to Boston. My first few years in Boston were really tough. We lost a lot of games, and I was supposed to be this notable free agent signing, and I was supposed to be playing better than I did. Those first few years were tough, and we were losing so much that people didn't like our team. It's not that they disliked me, they just didn't like our team. We didn't have Kevin Garnett or Ray Allen yet. Then, once we got those guys, we started winning games. I was a rotational player in Boston, but I wasn't playing a lot, just 10 minutes a night. Then, the support picked up again. Soon, he started to embrace the fans and just stick with the hype. He didn't deserve any of this credit for people to randomly cheer his name. At first, I felt bad because I didn't think I deserved to get all this credit and have people cheer for me at the end of the games when my teammates were the ones who played well and built the 20-point lead. I felt bad about it because the other guys were the ones working their tails off and building this big lead, and then it would be about me at the end of the game. That lasted through 2008, but then once we won the championship, I fully embraced it. That's when I'd be telling guys, come on, you guys need to push this lead to 20 points so I can get some burn tonight. We gotta give the people what they want. After winning the championship in 2008, I figured it was just better to embrace it. I continued that approach after that, and did the same thing in Chicago. I like it. I feel like I do represent the common guy, even though I'm 6'10", and I've played millions of hours of basketball, and I put my whole life into this. He was getting undeserved attention just from a physical standpoint, but once the team won the NBA championship, the White Mamba had to embrace the fans, because he literally won a ring. LeBron James. Of course, there were plenty of fans that believed a high school prospect by the name of LeBron James would be a bust. There were plenty of haters in his early days, believing he didn't have what it took to win championships, with no clutch genes. He also got to the line at a high rate, but couldn't hit his free throws. The people who thought James would be bad were the same people who really wanted Michael Jordan to be the greatest player ever. While Jordan is certainly a top NBA player, James has done enough already in his career to pass Jordan as the GOAT. But instead of LeBron being the worst basketball player ever, he's the best to ever do it. He's won many championships, made 8 consecutive NBA finals, and makes all of his teammates better around him.